All right, we are opened up to the next clean page in our math notebooks. Make sure you're going in order. That's the whole purpose of notes, so that you can find them easily. Okay, here is what we are labeling our page today. 8.3, multiply fractions and whole numbers. And today's date, 2/8/21. Now, some of you may be thinking, whoa, Missy, I had a little bit of a tough time with adding and subtracting fractions. Most of you really got the hang of it by the end, but you're like, that process was hard. Well, now we're multiplying. Do you guys remember what I said about multiplying and dividing fractions? Layla?
You don't have to find out which part of the
So that makes it what?
Easy.
It makes the process easier. Now, because we are multiplying and dividing, that does mean that we will be dealing most likely with numbers that are larger than we're used to as numerators and denominators, because if you take two numbers and you multiply it, it's going to be larger. So when we're multiplying and dividing fractions, we will be practicing simplifying them at the end. So that means if you have 10/20ths as your answer, simplifying it down to 1/2. So we will be practicing and using that skill. When we were adding and subtracting fractions, I didn't make you simplify. With multiplying and dividing fractions, we will be. I will be making you simplify. Jacquel, what's your question? That's an and. Yep, that's an and symbol. So 8.3, multiply fractions and whole numbers, 2/8/21. All right, give me a thumbs up. Thank you when you have our title down. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. I see a few people finishing up. Awesome. Thank you. Nice work. Keep my hand up there, makes it brighter for whatever reason. Okay, are we ready to move on? Oh, I heard an almost. Awesome. Okay, we're going to be starting with an example. So our example problem is 1/4 times 5. So everyone should be writing this down. 1/4 times 5. Are you writing this down? Awesome. And give me a thumbs up when you have our example written down. Oh, you're picking at it?
No, it's not really bleeding. I've had it for a long time. Just
Okay. Okay, awesome. So what we're going to be doing today, 5th grade, is we're going to be taking notes about the steps to multiplying a fraction by a whole number. Tomorrow, we will be working on multiplying a fraction by another fraction. So today's fraction by whole number, tomorrow's fraction by fraction. Is there anyone who needs more time? Okay. So our first step, when we are given a multiplication problem like 1/4 times 5, we have a fraction times a whole number. Our first step is to rewrite the whole number as a fraction. So rewrite the whole number as a fraction. That is always our first step. Give me a thumbs up when you have step 1 written down. So step 1, rewrite the whole number as a fraction. Thank you for giving me a thumbs up. Awesome. Thank you, Gavin. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Nice job. Awesome. Thank you. So a few people finishing up step 1. Thank you. While you're waiting for the rest of our class to finish up step 1, I'd like you to think to yourself, don't say it out loud, if we write a whole number as a fraction, so we're writing the number 5 as a fraction, think about what that looks like. Don't say it. How do we rewrite any whole number as a fraction? Think about that. Now, I want you to turn and whisper to the person next to you. How do we rewrite the whole number 5 as a fraction? Ready to rock? Ready to rock? How many of you think you rewrite the whole number 5 as 5 over 5? How many of you think you rewrite it as 4 4/4? How many of you think you rewrite it as 5 over 1? Turn and talk with the person next to you again. Which of those is correct and why? Ready to rock? Ready to rock? 5th grade, when we have a fraction, we have the numerator over the denominator, right? That numerator represents how many pieces we have. The denominator represents how many pieces our whole has been broken into. So like, for example, with 1/4, a whole has been broken into 4 pieces, but we only have 1 piece. So which of those fractions, 5 over 5, 4 4/4, or 5 over 1, would represent a whole number where our whole has been broken into 1 piece and we have 5 pieces? Turn and talk. Which one of those represents that? Ready to rock? I'm going to ask you the question again. How many of you think you rewrite the whole number 5 as 5 over 5? How many of you think you rewrite the whole number 5 as 4 4/4? How many of you think you rewrite the whole number 5 as 5 over 1? Okay, you are correct. I'm going to show you why. If we have 5 over 1, we are saying we have our whole that's been split into 1 piece, or just a whole circle, and we have 5 of them. Does this represent 5 wholes? It sure does. So, when we write the whole number as a fraction, this is what we're doing. Go ahead and write that down. 1/4 times 5 suddenly becomes 1/4 times 5 over 1. So 5th grade, this is what you do with any whole number. When you are changing it into a fraction, you just make that whole number the numerator and you make the 1 a denominator. If we had 1/4 times 100, 100 would become 100 over 1. If we had 1/4 times 23, 23 would become 23 over 1. So any whole number, when you are making it just into a fraction, you make it so that it's the whole number over 1. So the whole number becomes the numerator, your denominator is just 1. Give me a thumbs up when you have this written down. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, let me put my hand back in there so it brightens up a little bit. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Thank you. Is there anyone who needs more time getting this written down? Okay. So now that we've rewritten our problem. We've rewritten our whole number as a fraction. We now have 1/4 times 5 over 1. Our second step is to multiply the fractions. So our second step is to multiply the fractions. Give me a thumbs up when you have step 2 written down. Awesome, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for giving me thumbs up when you're ready. Thank you. How about you? What? I'm guessing yes, because of how cold it's going to be. Okay. What's it? Oh, perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Is there anyone who needs more time? Did someone say yes? Okay. So, go ahead, Zoe. So, what do I mean when I say multiply the fractions? This is what I mean. All that you do is you multiply across. So, you multiply the numerators. 1 times 5 equals 5. And then you multiply the denominators. 4 times 1 equals 4. Now, raise your hand. What do you notice about the answer we got here? Raise your hand if you have an observation about our answer. Don't say anything yet. Just raise your hand if you have an observation about this answer we've gotten. We call it something. Let's say it on the count of 3 together. It's a 1, 2, 3. Improper fraction. So, are we ready to go on to step 3? Is there anyone who needs more time on step 2? Someone say yes? Okay. So, our step 3 is always simplify if needed. Now, if this was 4 over 5, if we got 4/5, we wouldn't need to simplify. But since we have 5/4, we do need to simplify. So in this case, since we have an improper fraction, what I mean by simplify is we need to turn it into a mixed number. However, if it was something like 10/20, simplify would mean just reduce it until you can't find any other numbers that go into the numerator and the denominator besides 1. So step 3 is to simplify if needed. So I'd like you on your own right now, turn 5/4 into a mixed number below step 3. Give me a thumbs up when you think you've got it. Awesome. And make sure you've written it down. Don't just do it in your head, also write it down. Awesome. Thank you for giving me a thumbs up. Awesome. And if you're kind of getting stuck, like, oh man, Missy, I don't remember how to turn an improper fraction into a mixed number, I'll show you here in a second. I just want you to try it on your own first. Yeah. Is it the fleece? Yeah. 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 Okay. Does anyone need more time? Taking it as a no. Okay. So, when we have an improper fraction, our first question to ourselves is, how many times does our denominator go into our numerator? Show me on your hand. How many times does 4 go into 5? It goes in once. That 1 becomes our what in the improper, or in the, what does it become, Zoe? It becomes our whole number in our mixed number. It becomes our whole number. Then we ask ourselves, okay, 4 goes into 5 once. How many more pieces do I need to get to 5? So from going to 4 to 5, how many more pieces do I need? Show me on your hand. Going from 4 to 5, I only need 1 more piece. So then that 1 becomes our numerator. So 5/4 equals 1 and 1/4, because 4 goes into 5 once. That becomes our big whole number. Then we ask ourselves, how many more pieces do I need to get from 4 to 5? 1 more piece. And then our whole, or our denominator, stays the same of 4. So 1 and 1, 4. Okay. Now, I know some of you may have gotten tripped up when you were simplifying, but how did you feel about step 1 and 2 of multiplying a fraction by a whole number? How did you feel about step 2? Show me on your hand, 1 through 5. How did you feel? How did you feel? Okay. Awesome. How do we feel about simplifying that improper fraction? How do we feel about that? I know that can sometimes be a little tricky. Okay. Awesome. Now we have some practice problems. Yay! Yay! So 5th grade, how many of you would say that this is a little less steps than adding and subtracting fractions? It's a lot less, right? So the simplifying part will probably take you the most steps once in a while, but usually it's pretty straightforward. And I won't give any notes about a division yet. You guys will be surprised by how we divide fractions. All right, are we ready for our practice problems? Okay, so once you get them written down, then you can go ahead and solve them. So we have 3. Number 1 is 5 times 2/3. Number 2 is 28 times 7/12. And number 3 is 900 times 2/9. Once you get these written down, then you can go ahead and solve them. I will know you're ready when I see you quietly sitting with a thumbs up or quietly reading, writing, or drawing once you've solved them. Don't forget step 1, where you rewrite the whole number in each problem as a fraction. Remember, all that we do is we put it over 1. So go ahead and solve once you get these written down. Go ahead and solve. Yes. Yep, we'll always put it over 1. Exactly. Yep. Because what you're saying when you have 900 over 1 is your whole has been broken into one piece, and you have 900 pieces, so 900 wholes. Does that make sense? Okay. So remember, your whole number, you just put it over 1. 5 over 1, 10 over 1, whatever it is. That's up to you.
So number 1,
Mm-hmm.
it says 5 times 2/3.
Yep.
And so in here it says 5 over 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then like 3 goes in multiply.
So let's rewrite it with 5 over 1. So what's the next step? All right, let's go. So. So now we need to simplify, right? How do you simplify that?
3
Okay, so maybe down here. What is that? So that 3 is the what of our next number?
the number.
Mm-hmm.
So you can like have somewhere that
Well, actually, when it goes on 3 times, that gets you to one number.
like,
No, so now I'm going to another 10, and then it's just
oh, no,
one. And then
so you keep it at that.
So, 3. What?
Okay.
That's what?
Okay. Oh yeah. That's pretty good.
Yep. Okay. So, okay. So, what did you divide the 2 by? Okay. So then what did you divide 54 and 3 by?
I divided it by
So then, what would this be?
oh yeah, one.
It'd be a 1. So if it's 18 over 1, what's the actual answer? Okay. So then you have this one.
Oh yeah, shoot.
Okay.
Here's the multiplication sheet with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The question we have.
Okay.
So I don't know how many times that can go in that.
So,
But I'm thinking it's 200 because I just added the zeros.
exactly. So 9 goes into 18, right?
200.
And then you have this one.
So it's
That one's 200.
and then that's the answer.
Yep.
So, for simplifying, that's when you divide the number and the
5th grade, unless you're helping someone, your voice should be up. That's how I know you're ready.
you divide the number and the number. So, what types of numbers are those? Just by looking at the last digit of them, the 6 and a 2. So what number can you guess what was divided by? 2. So try dividing both of these by 2. Okay. No. Yep. Let's do it together. Nope, you're dividing both of them by 2 to simplify. So 12 divided by 2 is what? So 1 how many times is 2 going to 12? 6. So the 6 would become a denominator, right? And then 196 divided by 2. That might be when we have to set it up to a 5 and actually divide. Okay. Try that. Give it a go. I got that. So which one? Number 2. What's 7 times 28? You added, yep.
So I don't know. This one?
Yep.
Does mine go to 2007?
3 plus 2 zeros.
800 should be 110. I know,
3,000 is above. 3,000 is larger than 2,700.
Oh my gosh. It is 300.
Yep.
Just 300?
Yep.
300?
Nope. Remember, how many times your denominator goes into your number, that's your whole number. Or into your number. Yeah. Hi, Ashley.
Can you go like how many times 12 is in
Did you set up a division?
wait, is that a didn't
So 16. So 12 goes in 16 times, right? So what does 16 become? Because we're making this into a less number, right? So it goes in 16 times, and 16 becomes
it doesn't have to be even.
It doesn't have to be
So
even.
that's still 16.
How many do we have left over? 12. Now, how do we do 4/12?
Yeah.
Okay, what is 4/12 become? How many times is 4 over 12? 3 times. 3 times, so we won.
So that 900 plus 900 times 2, would that be 1,800?
If you're multiplying it by 2, yeah, equals 100.
I was about to say 18,000, but then I'm going back and I was like,
Yep.
awesome.
Other one. So you're multiplying. Why are we multiplying? Yeah. Let's do it this way. This right now is an improper fraction, right? So, we could just make it into a right? So this step I'm trying to figure out how I can right? So, right? Okay. So instead of just dividing them by 2 and 2 and 2, let's set up a division problem where the taking 186 and dividing it by 12. Let's set up a division problem over here. Divided by 12. Remember how we set up a division problem? Okay. So, can 12 go into 1? No. But it can go into what? 19. How many times? 1. Everybody put that 1. Yep. You need to round it up. So that 12 still ends up with a 19. And then what do you do? Nope. You're forgetting something back. Mm-hmm. 176. And where are you going to figure out? I'm going to come 176. No, let's try it too. Do you have your multiplication before this?
Thank you to those of you who are being patient. We'll take another minute or two, and then we will look at these together. You should not be talking unless you are helping someone. And that's where we're going to stop. So this gives us all the information we need to look at this number. So how many times does 12 go into 196 evenly? Nope. How many times does 12 go into 196 evenly? 16. How many are left over? 4. So the number on top is always how many times your number goes in evenly. So that would be your whole number in your next number. Then whatever's left over, that would become your numerator. That's how many pieces you have left over. So it would be 16 and 4 what? What were we dividing by? Yeah? 16 and 4, 12. Okay. So 16 and 4, 12. You're welcome. Layla. Yep. Yes, what's up, Jim?
So for the center would be 200.
Yep.
So then
Is there anything left over? So it's just, I guess. This one. Okay. So we want to see how many times 12 goes in 196, right? Okay. So if I multiply on this side, did you try setting the division problem? Yeah. That's what I like to do in this situation. So let's, we did it beginning of the year. Remember this? So they ask, how many times does 12 go into 1? That's kind of only one. Can you go to 19? Mm-hmm. This is the one about the 9. And then we subtract. Yep. Yep. Down with you. You're going to do something first. Yes, you're doing one first. Okay. Now we know. I'm going to ask 12 by 7. Do you have your multiplication chart open? Let's bring it over. How many times 12 by 7 is? How many times 12 going? 12 to here, right? Yeah. So it goes in 6 times. So where do we start? So, yep. And 12 times 6 is what?
14 6, 72. So we subtract 72. Make it 51. Cool. Now, there's nothing else to bring down. We can 12 going forward. No, so we're going to stop. This gives us all the information we need for our next number. Because remember, when we create our next number, we're just asking how many times is that denominator going to go into the numerator. So how many times was 12 going to 196? Clean or even. 16 times. So this number at top tells you how many times the 12 goes in without going over. So it goes in 16 times. So that 16 becomes the what of our next number? That becomes the number. So I have a number. You 4 boys have gotten yourselves checks. So then, how many pieces do we have left? Oh, 4. We have 4. So 4 becomes the numerator. Yeah? And then what is the denominator? 12. Now, can we reduce 4 to 12? Is the number that goes into both of them? What is it? 2. 2 does go into both of them. So what would that turn into if we divided them by 2? 2. So that would turn into 1. Okay. 2. And that would become a 6. Can we reduce 2 to 6? 1 6. Okay. So it's 16. Exactly. You got it. Why are you talking number 2?
We moved your PE class today and Wednesday because of the cold weather. Otherwise, we aren't able to get everybody in food. Sure. So to make it consistent, I think we'll do it 12:50 to 1:20 both Monday and Wednesday. I think it should work. One of the days we had Spanish, but 2, so then we had day 4. Today's the day 2, I think.
Wednesday then would be, we'd have Spanish.
12. Oh, it's 12:50.
Yeah,
that should work. Okay. So just today, just do both. I was going to do it, but today, yeah, but let's just do it both. 12:50 to 1:20. Monday. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Rich.
Yeah, thank you. Now everybody can get recess.
Yeah. Yep. All right, ready to rock. Let's look at these together, 5th grade. Thank you to the majority of the class who was able to sit quietly and read, write, or draw, or just sit quietly. Those of you who were giggling and talking, you got checks. I mean, that's just how it is. All right, let's look at these together. We're going to start with number 1. So 5 times 2/3. If you have a book out, you need to put it away. Philip, put your book away. All right, let's refocus and look at these together. Okay, so our first step is always to rewrite the whole number as a fraction. So if I do that with number 1, that's just me putting that whole number over 1. So 5 over 1 times 2/3. Once I've done this, then I just multiply across. So 5 times 2 is 10. 1 times 3 is 3. Now, 5th grade, what kind of fraction do I have here right now? Well, it's an improper fraction. My numerator is larger than my denominator. So I need to turn it into a mixed number. Well, the way I do that, I'm going to rewrite it down here. 10 over 3. I ask, okay, how many times does 3 go into 10? Show me on your hand, how many times does 3 go into 10? 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3, 6, 9. So it goes in 3 times, so that 3 becomes my whole number. And then, so 3, 6, 9, how many more pieces do I need to get from 9 to 10? Show me on your hands. How many more pieces? 1. So that 1 becomes my numerator, and the denominator stays 3. So 3 1/3 is my answer for number 1. Raise your hand if you got 3 1/3 for number 1. Awesome. How many of you got 10/3? You did get 10/3, but maybe the simplifying part was a little tricky. Okay, awesome. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Same thing. I have a whole number, so I need to put it over 1. So 28 over 1 times 7/12. So, just like I did before, I'm going to go ahead and multiply across. So if I take 28 times 7, I'm going to get 196 over 12. Now, 5th grade, again, what kind of fraction do I have here? It's improper. My numerator is larger than my denominator. So, what I would do, when we have such large numbers like this, where it's not easy to do it in our head, set up a division problem. Because when you're asking how many times does my denominator go into my numerator, you're asking, what is 196 divided by 12? That's essentially what you're asking. So if we set up a division problem, can 12 go into 1? No. Can 12 go into 19? How many times? Once. Then I subtract 12. 19 minus 12 gets me 7. Then I bring down my 6. How many times does 12 go into 76, 5th grade? It goes in 6 times. You're right. Now, if you're like, whoa, how do people get that so fast? You guys do have, some of you know those facts, but also you have a multiplication table in your planner that you could use to help you with this. So, it goes in 6 times. And what is 12 times 6? 12 times 6 is? 72. 72. So if I take 76 minus 72, I wind up with 4. Now, if we were working with decimals, I could add a decimal, drop a 0, and bring it down and keep going. But that's not what we're doing right now. We just need to know how many times 12 goes into 196 without going over. So if I'm looking at this 5th grade, I have all the numbers I need to make my mixed number. So when we ask how many times does 12 go into 196 without going over, our answer is 16. So first of all, 16. Then we would ask, okay, how many pieces do we have left over? Well, that's our number down here, 4. And then our denominator is 12. Now, am I done simplifying here? Can I simplify 4 12ths? Yes. What number goes into both 4 and 12?
3.
What number? What's the largest number that goes into 4 and 12?
2.
Elena?
4.
4. Yep. So I can divide both by 4. So that gets me 16, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 16 1/3. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to draw a little wall here so I can see where my work is for number 3. Okay, then we have number 3. So again, we need to put our whole number over 1. So 900 over 1 times 2 9ths. 900 times 2 is 1,800, or 1,800. 1 times 9 is 9. Now, an easy way to do this, can 9 go into 18?
Yes.
Show me on your hand, how many times does 9 go into 18? 9 goes into 18 twice, then we can just add on these 2 zeros for 200. Now think in your head, if we take 9 times 200, will it get us 1,800? It sure will. Yep. So I can divide both of them by 9. And 1,800 divided by 9 gets you 200. And is there anything left over? No, 9 goes into 1,800 200 times, and that's it. So it's the whole number, 200. Exactly. Yep, exactly. Okay, so I'm going to ask you again, how do you feel when it comes to solving these about the first two steps? Putting the whole number over 1, then multiplying, not even simplifying. How do you feel about the first two steps? So that means getting 10/3, 196 over 12, and 1800 over 9. How do you feel about that? Okay. How do you feel about having to then simplify? How are we feeling with that? Okay. I want all eyes on me for a moment. All eyes on me. 5th grade, the biggest thing that would help you when it comes to simplifying is knowing your multiplication facts. That's something you work a lot on in 2nd and 3rd grade, I know. However, if you're someone where, if you're asked, okay, what's 8 times 9? Or 12 times 6, and you're having a hard time getting that number in your head, that is something you can work on. And that's all that simplifying is knowing what numbers can evenly go into other numbers. So by knowing your multiplication facts and division facts, that is going to help you. So if you're like, gosh, Missy, I want to get better at simplifying, that is one of the easiest things you can do. And you can make flashcards for yourself using your multiplication table. Go in, if you know all your multiplication facts up to like 5, then start with 6s. 6 times 2 on one side of the card, 12 the answer on the other side of the card. You can make your own flashcards. That's the biggest tip I can give you when it comes to simplifying, so that you're not always having to break things out into division problems or multiplication problems. Okay, homework. In your workbooks, so this is your volume 2 workbook. Your volume 2 workbook will, please open up to page 473. So volume 2 workbook, page 473. Volume 2 workbook, page 473. Thank you. 473. You are going to circle number 2, number 5, numbers 8 through 10, so that's 8, 9, and 10, number 22, and number 23. And I will say it again. We're on page 473. You are circling number 2, number 5, numbers 8 through 10, so that means 8, 9, and 10, number 22, and number 23. I will turn on some work music. You can go ahead and get started. And 5th grade, is number 2 one of the ones where they have it all set up and they want you to plug in numbers? Okay, so you're going to go through and just do what we do. Multiply across, get whatever fraction that is, and then if you need to simplify it, that's when you simplify it. So just follow their guide. Just follow their guide.